With everything that happened after this, you tell me, did NBC make the right decision? Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we are going to be talking about a movie that I've only revisited one other time after originally seeing it. I revisited this movie when Jay Leno took The Tonight Show back from Conan. Because when that happened, it reminded me of this movie. And honestly, I'm still waiting for a sequel to this movie based on all of that because, of course, Letterman and Leno and Conan were all involved. But I revisited this again because, of course, Conan just retired. He wasn't forced out for once. So I watched this again, and I still really love this movie. Today, we're going to be talking about 1996's The Late Shift, which you can see on HBO Max. It is an HBO original movie back from, again, 96. What this is about is when Johnny Carson, they were trying to find the replacement for The Tonight Show, and of course Jay Leno and David Letterman both wanted it. So it's about it's about their vying for position to take Johnny's spot, and all the dirty deals and all the backstabbing and everything that may or may not have happened. I will say, as much as I like this movie, apparently Letterman and Leno both hate this movie and are like, it wasn't that bad. But apparently a lot of stuff that happened in the movie, like Leno listening in on private calls and things like that, happened. I don't know for a fact, of course, but there's a lot of speculation that that stuff did happen. So what you have here is these two guys vying for position, and again, all the dirty stuff, all the dirty laundry and the dirty deeds going on behind the scenes. Now, there's too many characters to really talk about, but I will say this. For the most part, I love every performance in this movie. Kathy Bates, she plays Helen Kushnick, who is Jay Leno's basically right hand person. She kind of has steered his career the entire time, but she was also going to be the downfall of his career around this time. These events take place in the early 90s. I believe it was 91 to 93. And also Kathy Bates, she won some awards, including a Golden Globe for this. And she's fantastic in it. I mean, you have a lot of actors, some that are character actors and some that you know in this, and they're all great. You have Ed Begley Jr., Treat Williams shows up, Daniel Roebuck plays Jay Leno, John Michael Higgins plays David Letterman. Of course, I mentioned Kathy Bates and others. Sandra Bernhard plays herself. So you have a really good cast, and you're not going to be able to keep track of all the characters because as they go through this, it almost treats it documentary style, where they will pop up a super for all the characters going through this. And you have to remember a certain few. But there is a very important one. They get Rich Little to play Johnny Carson. And of course, he was very well known for his impression of Johnny Carson. While he may not really look like him, they wanted him to be Johnny Carson, and he's great in it. Of course he is. And it's not just a cameo. I thought back in the day, I was like, when he popped up, it was great, but he kept showing up here and there in the movie. He's not in it a ton, but he's in it for some of the very important parts. But you have these two comedians both wanting, it's like their dream to host the Tonight Show. Now, Leno at the time was already guest hosting. And Letterman had the next spot. Now, I use these times. Of course, it's Central Time for me, but it's Eastern Time for them. Leno had the after news spot. Leno had the after the 10 o'clock news spot, but they call it the 11:30, and Letterman had the 12:30. And of course, Letterman wanted the Tonight Show because it was Johnny's. It was his dream. He's dream from it was 9 or 10 or whatever it was. So you have them both playing hardball, where Leno, they seem like to not want to hurt each other. They only really share one scene that I remember, and they're very cordial to each other. They were friends. I remember not too long ago, there was like a Super Bowl commercial where they finally got those two together and they sat next to each other. I want to say it was like Doritos or something. And they did a commercial together. I don't exactly remember what the product was. But they got them back together, and Leno commented on it's like, I liked seeing my friend again. Because after this whole thing went down, they never really... They would snip at each other on their shows and everything, especially when Leno was trying to take back Conan. Man, Letterman, it was some of the best comedy I'd ever seen from Letterman. And I like Letterman anyway. So it's about them both trying to get this job, but of course with Leno having Helen Kushnick on his side, she starts to play dirty, but then she starts to do things that starts ticking off the network, and of course the network is all about making that money, and of course you start to hit their bottom line. It's they're not real happy about it, so it's all about that drama on who they choose. It's about Dave getting offers, how his contract even opened up for him to get offers from other networks and syndication and everything. So it talks about how he went to CBS. It's about how Jay, the decisions he had to make to keep the Tonight Show, where they of course promised Letterman the Tonight Show because they don't know if Jay's going to work out, but it's like, well, you may or may not get it. The best scene of the movie is when Letterman calls Carson. It's just a quick phone call, but it's like to the point, and it's fantastic. It's just a scene I really love. When it comes to the performances of Roebuck and Higgins as Leno and Letterman respectively, in a way, their characters are almost caricatures of those two comedians. That being said, we're talking about two comedians here. So, and again, I remember reading something that said Leno and Letterman hated the performances and hated this movie. But the performances, though they feel like caricatures, still work. They still really work for me. You don't take really a lot of characters in this movie seriously anyway. Some of the discussions they have, it's like, is this really how they talk behind the scenes? And you can totally believe it because the entertainment business is a bloodthirsty, throat-cutting business. So, yeah, for me, revisiting this, I still like revisiting this. I want a sequel. I so bad want a sequel to this because they do have the end of the movie where this is where this person is and this is where that person is kind of stuff. The Helen Kushnick one for Kathy Bates is hilarious because it's like, she's suing the makers of this movie, and I believe it's of the book as well. I don't know whatever came of that. I couldn't find it. So that one was funny, but I would have loved to have seen a sequel about the Leno and with these same actors, the ones that were still around. I don't know if everyone's still around. I don't know which ones would have been involved. But you still would have had Letterman and Leno and then add Conan to the mix. It would have been fantastic. I would have loved to have seen The Late Shift too. Because again, it just shows, because if anyone came out bad from, especially, a little bit for this one, but especially for when he took the show back from Conan, when they forced Conan out, of the Tonight Show, Leno just came off as the douche. And I would have loved to have seen these actors play these characters again in a sequel to this. That's my one thing I don't like, is that I didn't get these characters again, because that stuff going on it's perfect for a movie like this. I would have loved to have seen it continue, because I know a lot of these characters still would have been there and still would have been involved, and I would have loved to have seen it. But other than that, I love The Late Shift. Yeah, it's pretty over-dramatized, and I know the real people hate it, but I really dig it. And again, if you want to see The Late Shift, it's on HBO Max. Until next time, see you later.